Beers and Banter, episode 15. All the usual stuff, Titans, NRL, AFL, cricket. I don't know if the Jaffa's coming back after his recent form, but we'll see how we go. Little promo for next week. Let's rip in. Dillsy.
Hey, Big Red, how are you, mate?
Welcome back to the Sweaty Box.
A bit quiet in the sweaty box tonight, just you and I.
We've gone from a full house to just you and me again.
Back to normality.
Yeah, it's
And no beer tasting tonight. What's wrong?
no beer. I'm having a beer.
Oh, ginger beer. That'll do me.
It's ginger beers and banter this week.
That'll do me. I copped weeks of abuse for not drinking, and here you are out with a ginger beer.
Well,
What's doing
when the body says it's time to have a little rest, you need to have a little rest.
I think you should have listened to it a few years ago.
So it's ginger beers for the next month. So
There you go.
support me,
Enjoy.
please.
Dry July, is it?
Yeah, I thought I might give that a run.
Yeah, good. How's your weekend, mate?
Not too bad. Weather wasn't brilliant to start with, but got out and about yesterday.
Did
A
ya?
bit of a walk, yeah.
Bit of a walk.
Bit of a walk and a bit of brekkie and a couple of my favourite things.
Good on you, mate.
Surf was pumping at Burleigh yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah,
Good
big.
waves?
Yeah, it was big.
Did you get in?
No, bit of a Ronnie roof racks myself. I like to drive around with the board on the roof, but I don't
Pretend
actually
like
get
you're
out.
checking out the surf.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good.
What
Mate, what about the Titans? I was there on Saturday, and I think there was about 8 of us that went, and the other 6 were all Manly supporters. So I had to sit there and just absolutely cop it for. Well, after 15 minutes, we were pretty much done and dusted.
It was tough to watch, and we were talking just before the show. Unlike years gone by, the Titans, whether they've had the class in the team to win the premiership, they probably didn't. But up until probably the end of 2016 or 2016, every game you thought you were a chance. And even right up until the death, we thought, they could pull a rabbit out of a hat. But I think since Garth Brennan's taken over, that attitude's gone. Like they just don't. We're in some games, but that fight till the death seems to have disappeared, and we don't really look likely in any games. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been competitive most of the year. I know we haven't won many games, but I think we've been competitive in most games. But that first half on the weekend, it was obviously attitude. There was a lot of things, but we simply didn't turn up, and it was embarrassing.
Let's not beat around the bush. They're not playing for that coach.
No, maybe not. Maybe it's we've obviously got this mid-season review, which is due, I believe, anytime after the bye weekend. So
I've got some mail.
this will be good.
The mail is Garth Brennan's coached his last game for the Titans. We've got a bye this weekend. Kevin Walters will coach the Queenslanders hopefully to victory next Wednesday night, and then he'll be announced as the new Titans coach.
Big call, Red.
Good
mail.
It's pretty solid. The assistant is going to be Neil Henry.
Really?
I like that. I think we were travelling all right under Henry, and he got in the rain. He got in the road of the Hayne plane and was a collateral damage of that whole scenario.
Yeah, I don't mind Hayne.
I think Henry's probably going to be good as a tactician wise. I think Kevy will be a good head coach. Henry was seen running in Currumbin. I got it texted through to me. Spotted Neil Henry still lurking around the Gold Coast.
It's obviously Kevy's the one that they've been talking about for a while, but it'd be interesting to see how he goes, that transition from Origin to full-time coach. But I mean, it's obviously now to the point where we've got a pretty good list, probably the best list we've had for a couple of years now.
Well, certainly a list that's supposed to be going a whole lot better than it is at the moment.
I mean, the list they've got should be a top 8 side, but there's obviously issues there, and it'd be interesting to see how Kevy goes if your mail's true.
Well, they asked bloody Meninga about it again on the telly on the weekend, so I'm not that far off the mark. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, though.
Okay. Watch this space.
Watch this space. What else happened over the weekend?
I watched. Did you see the game in Adelaide between Melbourne and Roosters? I mean, that was a pretty good game.
It's a broken record, but I'm yet to see a game of footy where the refs get everything right, or even consistent.
No, and they probably never will. But
I
thought that was a pretty quality game. I mean, you can see why they're obviously at the top end of the ladder. Those two teams, they're pretty quality outfits. So
looked. I don't know. I don't know Adelaide Oval very well, but didn't look like there was many there. There might have been some in one of maybe the stand that the camera was in. But is that game worth taking to Adelaide? Are they really interested?
Well, whose home game is it? Is it a Storm home game that takes it to Adelaide?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the NRL is now encouraging clubs to take games into Perth, and obviously take Origin to Perth this year, but into states or into towns that don't have teams.
If you're going to take a league game into Adelaide because you want it to catch on, maybe Adelaide Oval's not the right spot to do it. Maybe they're better off going to a rectangle ground where it's nice and compact, good atmosphere.
You won't find a rectangle ground in Adelaide. They're all AFL grounds.
What does Adelaide United play out of?
Yeah, soccer. Yeah, but that's a lot smaller. Soccer field's smaller than an NRL field, and that Olympic Stadium where they play the soccer is not. It's like 10,000, 15,000 people max.
That's all right. It'd look good on telly. The crowd would get a good atmosphere because it'd be full.
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, but I think NRL's obviously now got the aim of. Obviously, AFL now is played in majority of the states across Australia, and it's probably seen as a more or a bigger game around Australia. I think NRL's realised that they need to now take their game elsewhere as well to spread it around.
Well, what about something? I'd rather see them spread it around a bit, and it always comes out the next team they want is another team in Brisbane. I'm just going to throw something at you. The Broncos have not won a premiership since the Titans entered the competition. Is that why do you think that is? I think it's because they've no longer got a monopoly over the players in this area.
Yeah, but
or the fans.
Well, who was the last player that Brisbane and Titans both fought over?
Ash Taylor.
Yeah, how'd that turn out?
Good for Brisbane. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting that they haven't won since. I'm sitting here in the doldrums as a Titans fan, but Brisbane haven't won anything in that time either.
No.
I just don't think that. I don't think that's the default answer. I don't want to see another team in Brisbane until you've got Perth covered, until you've got maybe North Coast and New South Wales, or maybe another team. I don't know, somewhere else. I don't want to see.
Well, the obvious one is probably that Gosford area. They take 5 or 6 games a year to that Gosford Central Coast area.
Yeah, that should be an easy one for one of the teams that wants to get out of the Sydney.
But
a little bit.
You got to remember, there's already a soccer team there. Is the population, is the area big enough to support both, an NRL side and a Central Coast Mariners soccer team?
Well,
or a permanent NRL
particularly
team.
When you've got Newcastle just a little bit further up the highway. I'd rather their team be there than 4 in Western Sydney, but I'm not sure that's the next spot either. Yeah, hard to say. It's a horrible weekend for tipping. I only got one right.
Yeah, it's been a horrible year for me. I'm in all sorts in the tipping comps, but in fact I've given up in one of them. I'm down to only 2 now, but
pretty sure if I didn't back the Titans, I'd be right up there in the mix of tipping comp.
They definitely don't help. And obviously the Origin team came out this morning, or the Queensland Origin side. I don't know if you can get that up on the screen.
Yeah,
but
I'll just have a look here.
Couple of debutantes, obviously Christian Welch and Corey Norman. I don't mind Corey Norman coming in. Obviously plays week to week, with Hunter's hooker down at the Dragon. So
yeah,
I think that's probably not a bad combination. Potentially, I've heard a few people say that maybe Munster could go to fullback and Corey Norman into the halves. But
yeah, I've been saying it for a little while though, haven't I?
What's that, mate?
I've been saying that we needed a change in that back line before now. I thought they'd bring Felt in on the wing, Gagai to the centres, Morgan to fullback.
Yeah.
Well, before I knew Ponga was even out, that's what I thought they'd do. Morgan to the bench and by out. We're I think we're a little side, is what worries me.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I mean, Felt's obviously a quality player, and I think he'd do a pretty good job in that Origin arena. But
Yeah, I think he's been hard done by there. I can't even bring up the side. I can't find it.
yeah, so Corey Norman and Welsh are obviously the two big ins. Napa and Jared Wallace have been dropped, which is probably no great surprise.
Yeah, I thought Wallace played better in that second game.
Wallace is a PR.
He's-
And he's a Titans.
Tell us how you really feel.
He's a Titans player, and I'm passionate Titans, but he just, I think he tries hard. I just don't think he's got that. He hasn't got any killer in him. He just runs it into the tackle and drops to the ground and plays the ball, and that's sort of the style of footy he plays.
Yeah. Well, he's
Got no punch as a forward.
What about Napa?
Well, he obviously went into game 2 with that broken hand.
But he played on the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he's obviously been dropped for form reasons. Offa Hengawi comes back in after he cut his leg there in that first game, and he was probably okay in game 1. Obviously, Ponga out is a massive out for Queensland.
Yeah, it is. I don't think he had the best game of his life in game 2. It'd be good to see him back there, but I don't think that's where we're going to win or lose this game either. I think our forwards need to really muscle up, and we've still got some real class in that back line. We just got to get the ball out, get some good field position, get the ball out to the right people. It could be a case of too many Chiefs. Do you think? Like you've got a team full of halves. Morgan, Munster, Hunt.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who's
the other one?
Well, now Corey Norman.
Who's
Yeah,
the half?
maybe. I mean,
and then DCE. And then DCE's over the top of that. All of that.
Yeah.
I think there's too many halfbacks in the team.
Yeah, maybe. You might be right. It'll be interesting. I mean, New South Wales, you can't see too many changes happening there. I believe Cleary's going to get named, I heard today.
Just going to name him and hope for the best, do you reckon?
Yeah, so... and obviously Mitchell Pearce is still in rare form the last sort of 6 to 7 weeks and played pretty good again on the weekend. So
yeah, he's
going to be a bit unlucky, I think.
That'll be interesting.
If Cleary gets up for it.
Yeah, I can't see him carrying. They're probably just bringing Cleary in to be around the team, but if he's not good, they're not going to risk him, surely. They played the last game without him, really. They could nearly not even bring another player in, bring in another forward and let Wade Graham play 6.
Yeah.
Suits.
Anyway, I think we're up against it. We've definitely got our work cut out down there in Sydney.
That's where they like to be, that. Just before we move off the NRL, what about the tackle on Morgan? As a Queenslander, obviously you don't want to see a Queenslander go down, but I didn't think there was much in that Sims tackle that everyone's blown up about.
Nah, there probably wasn't a lot in it, but...
Paul Green blew up Deluxe on afterwards.
Of course he did. It's his player.
Bit of a sook, Paul Green.
So what's happened there? Gone to the judiciary? Has already been handed a suspension?
Should know that being a sports program, shouldn't we?
So obviously he'll if he is suspended, he'll obviously miss Origin. There was talk of his brother getting a call up for the Queensland side over the weekend, but obviously that didn't eventuate. But
what, Corbin?
Yeah, it's a bit of aggression there.
How do you end up with two brothers on either side of the border?
Yeah, I don't know how that works out.
That'd be hilarious.
It'd be good to see though.
Hilarious.
Two brothers running at each other in a State of Origin game.
Mind-boggling.
But yeah, it's what have we got? 9 days until Game 3 decider.
I guess why it is important to I didn't think there was much in the tackle, but certainly concussions are a hot topic at the moment. With it coming out last week with a couple of ex-players that have shown signs of CTE. We've then had 2 high-profile people, Sterlo and James Graham, both said that they've donated their brains after they'd after they pass to science and so to study it. It's pretty full on. I'm not sure what you can't really change. It's not headgear's not going to fix the problem because it's all about that collision and it's not so much contact.
Yeah, it is, and I mean obviously the NRL and it's going to be a fair way away before those two guys you've just mentioned get their time comes to be tested, but the NRL's obviously going to be waiting with, and it might not be those two that are the first. There may be someone that comes forward.
Yeah,
That's older now, but they're going to be obviously waiting fairly anxiously for any results that come out, whether it be detrimental or not to the game. I still think player safety from an NRL, and it's the same in the AFL with the head assessment injuries and the concussions. Now it's an area of the game that the AFL and the NRL now take very seriously.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes about of that. I don't know much about the CTE sort of side of it, but it's obviously any time anyone gets a head injury now, it becomes very serious.
And there's been a bit of old school sort of grubbery in the last couple of weeks. Just wanted to pose a quick question to you. What's worse, biting, eye gouging, squirrel grips, or the hopawate?
Well, squirrel grip probably hurts the most, but I think eye gouging anytime you're laying on the ground. You're obviously talking about Josh Maguire the other week. Anytime you're laying on the ground and someone's got their fingers in your eyes, I can't imagine that it would. Can't imagine it would feel too good. Let alone, there's obviously a risk of damage, and anyone that risks eye damage or vision damage is never good.
There's four things that we really shouldn't see on the field anymore. Like play good hard footy, but those four things don't do anything for anybody.
No, they don't.
He needs to get it out of his game. Anyway, that's all for the NRL this week. What do we got? Did the Grub play on the weekend in the AFL?
Did, yeah, he played.
Couple of kicks, couple of jumps.
Yeah, he played okay. Geelong, Geelong were okay again. I actually watched and at the start of the week, you wouldn't have thought that Fremantle Carlton was probably going to be one of the games of the round, but it was a belter last night, especially the last quarter. It went back and forwards. Carlton got over the line in the last 30 seconds of the game, so that was a massive win for them.
What about the Suns? I haven't seen the Suns jersey on for a while.
No, I'm not sure where that jersey's gone. I might have to start looking for that.
That is deep in the closet.
2020. Brisbane Lions had another good win yesterday.
So they're travelling really well, the Lions.
They are. They're fifth on the ladder, so probably only three wins away from cementing a finals position, which would be massive for them.
Yeah.
It was only sort of 12, 18 months ago they were in all sorts and getting belted by 60, 70 points every week. So they've turned it around pretty quick. I think they've got a good coach there now and got some good young players coming through. And for them, players that come up from Victoria or South Australia and now want to stay at the club. They've always had issues with keeping players. They get homesick and want to go back home.
I can get a guy getting homesick in Canberra and wanted to come back to Queensland. Don't understand how you could get homesick living in southeast Queensland and want to go back to miserable Melbourne.
Yeah, I think from an AFL point of view, I mean, Melbourne's the heartland. It's sort of like a fishbowl down there. If you're an AFL footballer in Melbourne, you're in it. Everything's AFL all day, every day.
You'd think that'd be even more reason to come up here.
Yeah, it would be for some, no doubt, but I think for others, they like to be in the thick of it and in and around it. And
yeah,
you play for the Lions up here, and you can probably walk down the street most days without actually getting recognised. Whereas if you're in Melbourne playing for a Melbourne club,
well, honestly, I think the entire Lions team could walk past me, and I couldn't pick one of them out of the sidewalk.
No, but it's probably the same with
Does Merritt still play?
He only retired about 6 years ago, so yeah.
He's the last guy I remember.
What, because he had red hair?
He's a ginger.
So yeah, the Lions are going good. There wasn't a whole lot else to report in the AFL. West Coast Hawthorn played out a pretty close game. One kick in it there, so West Coast sort of marching along firmly entrenched in the top 4, and Hawthorn now probably starting to battle a little bit. Sort of on the fringe of being in or out of the 8. So what have we got? 8 or 9 weeks left. The 8's starting to sort of take shape, but towards the bottom half of the 8, there's probably still some changes to happen. So
Yeah, righto.
but it's the AFL had a sort of a partial bye, and then they have a few more teams. I think a couple of teams have a bye this week, so
Still.
it spreads out over a couple of weeks, similar to the.
Yeah, righto.
It might be back to normal this week actually, but yeah, it's sort of the last couple of weeks has been a little bit hit and miss for the AFL, but knuckle down now the back half of the season.
What about the Aussies have absolutely dispatched the Kiwis in the cricket?
Belted them.
Now it's really only India that maybe they're probably still worried about.
Yeah, India look good. I think Australia are obviously now the clear favourites from here. England and New Zealand, I think, is the big one now. It must be in the next couple of nights.
Yeah, getting to the point here now.
Obviously, for England being the host and pre-tournament favourite, they've now got to win their last game. Well, destiny's in their own hands now. If they win their last game, they're through. If they lose, I think they've got to rely on Pakistan getting beaten as well. So at this stage, it looks like obviously Australia, England, India, and probably England, New Zealand, Australia, India, probably the final 4.
Yeah, righto.
And yeah, you're probably right. I think India are probably our biggest threat from there. But we've definitely been the standout of the tournament so far.
Yeah, it looks good. And not everyone in the batting lineup firing each week, but it's someone different sort of.
Yeah, they're sharing around. I think the bowlers, you bagged the bowlers about 3 weeks ago, but the bowlers have been good the whole tournament.
Still Mitchell Stark getting fifers, but.
Yeah, but I think Berendorf took 4 or 5 the other day. Cummins has been solid. Nathan Lyon's done his bit. They've shared it around.
I got sprayed. I got text messages after
So
last
you
week.
should've.
Nathan Lyon is a test bowler and shouldn't be in the one-day team. So it's, cop that on the chin.
Well, he shouldn't. Look, he's one of the all-time great spin bowlers for Australia. It's obviously that spinning position is him against Zampa. I'd pick Lyon, but the selectors seem to have, and they have for probably the last 2 years, have a bit of a spot for Zampa. So he keeps getting the game along the way. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's I think we've only got a couple of weeks left of the tournament, so
Yep.
fingers crossed we can finish it off.
Good story in the golf overnight.
There was, yeah. So Nate Lashley was his name. Basically an unknown, complete unknown. He went to Monday qualifier and actually missed out. Became first alternate for the tournament, and then one of the players that was in the field pulled out, I think, the day before. So he got the last spot into the tournament, and went on and won the tournament by 6 shots. But the story goes, and it was well publicised over the week, he was probably an outstanding college golfer. So go back 10 years, he was at college playing an event, I think in Oklahoma maybe. His dad, his mum, and his girlfriend at the time flew in to watch him play the last day of the college tournament. He was in contention, watched him play, and then flew back home that night. His dad was actually a pilot flying his own private plane, just a little 4 or 6 seater, and they had a plane crash that night. So he lost his mum, his dad, and his girlfriend
All three of them?
all 3 of them, on the same night.
Oh, Jesus.
He went into the wilderness for a bit. And it's only sort of 18 months ago he was actually buying and selling and renovating homes to make a living. Basically hadn't played much golf, and then sort of rededicated himself the last 12 months and was playing mini tour events and just sort of plodding around. And in the space of 4 days, he's completely changed his life, and 1.3 million I think he won, and starts now into all the majors for the next sort of 12, 18 months, 2-year exemption.
We all got excited about Tiger's comeback the other week. That story to me is unreal.
Yeah, I mean it's
everything that was on Tiger, other than his back, obviously, but a lot of Tiger's problems were self-inflicted. that is one of the most brutal stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, and I mean this guy basically gave up golf, nearly gave up, lost interest in life. He's got a sister that wasn't on the plane, so he's obviously him and his sister are the only two left in the family.
Yeah.
She actually flew in last night from Arizona into Boston where they were playing to watch him play the last round, and they showed her when he was coming up last, and she was bawling her eyes out, and they did an interview with him when it finished, and he basically just tried to keep himself together, but you could see it was.
That's awesome.
I mean, everyone was talking about the story, and a lot of people didn't even know the guy, and
Wouldn't
so
have
didn't
heard of
know
him.
the story.
Yeah.
But obviously, because he led from round one, so wire to wire. Over the course of the 4 days of the tournament, it sort of the story came out, and it was a pretty amazing win.
Get that in you. I like it. It's that time of the week where we'd normally cover off the Jaffa, but he's in hiding. He's had another shocker.
You can't blame him.
I don't know where we go to from here.
I actually feel. I mean, I feel a bit. It was a little bit
responsible because
Nah,
he was like 5 in a row, and you cocked up his bed.
Yeah,
or
that's history. We don't worry about that. We only look forward. But he,
righto, Kevy.
he took GWS, and I don't know what you wouldn't have seen the game, but late in the game they were 20 points in front or 22 points in front there.
Oh, I did. I was watching it. Yeah.
It looked the bet looked home and home, so we were actually starting to get ready for the next week. So
They put the cue in the rack.
it quickly turned, and sure enough, we lost the bet. So he's actually texted through a multi, which you've written down. He wants to have a go at a multi this week. So
we can't get one right each week. So this week he wants to try and pick 5.
Well, I think there was a bit of banter on the
We copped
Beers and Banter
we
Facebook
copped a
page.
spray from a rival podcast, no less.
So I think Junior's taken that on board, and
Yeah.
rather than plot away at $1.90 selection each week, he's gonna roll five matches into each other.
So where's the money coming from? Did he specify? Or are we coughing up for that?
It's from Matt Burrell's savings, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll worry about that.
We'll work that out off air. So we're going to go Collingwood, Adelaide, West Coast, Australia to beat the South Africans,
South Africa.
and the Knights to beat the Warriors.
Yeah. So 5-leg multi. I think we had a quick look. It's paying around about
6-ish.
680. So stay tuned for we'll maybe put that on the socials, whether we go all 100 or how we're going to do that.
Yeah, righto.
But yeah, that'll be the multi this week. We'll I think maybe we'll just put the 100 on it and get up to 680, and
That'd be nice.
we're only 1 week away then.
We'll do.
Stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, that makes me so nervous. It's not funny. Particularly, it's 3 games of AFL I've got to watch too, which is brutal.
No, you don't have to watch. You just got to check the results.
Righto. So next week we've got a solid guest coming on, and I think it's something people are going to look forward to. So keep an eye out later in this week. I'm going to have a little giveaway. There's going to be a couple of little things that you need to do. But we've got John from My Lure Box coming on, so it should be a pretty good
fishing tips for us.
Yeah, a few fishing tips. Is one of the Gold Coast's, if not Australia's, premier fishermen. So looking forward to that next week. As always, you got anything else?
I've just got a couple of
Last
shout-outs,
news?
which I've got to go through.
Sorry.
First one, just had a bit. I was on the phone actually to Matty Rogers on the way here, and he and Chloe Maxwell actually en route to Germany for the Maxing Out Challenge. So this is the second time they've done it. So it's basically to support their 4 ASD kids charity.
Yep.
So
Matty would have still been in the tux.
Yeah, not long out of the
Picked up
after party.
Picked up a logie
Not
last
sure
night.
if he's taken the logie on the plane with him, but yeah. So maxing out, they got 3 or 4 athletes. I think Commando Steve was one of them.
Yeah.
From Survivor, and I think Samantha Riley, Sam Riley, I think the swimmer. Matty was saying. So it's, for those that don't know, it's a pretty brutal event that they train and go over there for. It's 3.8 kilometre swim, followed by a 180 metre bike ride.
180 metre.
180 kilometre.
I was going to say
180 metres.
So far, I could do this.
You'd be gone. You'd be gone when you got in the water.
I can swim, bro.
So 3.8 kilometre swim, 180 kilometre bike, and then you go and do a 42 kilometre run marathon.
That bit hurts.
So it's a unbelievable challenge over there in Germany. So I know Matty's doing it, and as I said, Commander Steve. So good luck for that. Also, one of the young boys from Coomera Soccer Club, young Nate Souter, and I'm just trying to find the email. They took the bus up to Townsville for the Gordon Tallis Cup on the weekend. So there was 76 teams, all I think he's under 8s or under 10s maybe. Rugby league, Coomera Cutters under 10s. So 76 teams got put into 8 pools, and the boys they finished 4th. They won 5 and lost 2, so 7 matches over 2 days.
Get that,
and then get on the bus and catch the bus home from Townsville. So
solid bus trip home.
Pretty big mission there, but
hope they're on the mid strength beers. That's a long trip home.
10s would be on the heavies, wouldn't they?
It's a bit early.
So yeah, good effort by the boys, Nate and his team there at Coomera. They're on the bus now, I think, so they probably tuned into the pod on the way home.
I hope so. That's good.
That's it, mate. That's a wrap.
Well, good luck to Matty over there, and congratulations to those boys. Going well. Keep a lookout. Next week's going to be a big episode. You can find us on all the usual places at Beers and Banter. Thanks for coming.
See you, mate.